I had just arrived at the substance abuse treatment program where I worked when I was asked to intake a new client. I walked out to the front office and stopped dead in my tracks. There sat a man with his arms tightly crossed, glaring at the room. He looked like this was the last place on earth he wanted to be. He had a shaved head, and right there, on his neck, was a swastika tattoo. I did my best to hide my look of shock and introduce myself. I took him to a group therapy session, and the moment we walked in, the room went silent. The only open seat was next to one of our clients who was Black. The man took one look and refused to sit there, cursing under his breath. My first reaction was sheer anxiety. I was genuinely worried about everyone's safety. I pulled my supervisor aside and told her I didn't think it was a good idea to keep him in the program. The rest of the staff and I all had no idea how we were going to make this group work. It didn't happen overnight, but over the next few weeks, I saw him start to open up, to laugh, and connect with the other people in the program. The group didn't push him away. They accepted him. Other clients would even joke with him about what he should get his tattoo covered up with. What happened next changed how I see the world. One day in group therapy, this man broke down in tears. He looked at us desperately and said he just wanted to be a better father, a better man. He went on to become one of the most passionate advocates for recovery I've ever met. And that same man he had once refused to sit next to became his best friend in the program. This experience showed me that even in the hardest circumstances, connection is still possible. But it doesn't just happen. It requires the courage to open up and the willingness to see each other's humanity. Staying in connection doesn't mean you always agree with everyone or excuse harmful behavior. It is a real, active choice to keep showing up even when it's hard. Working with that man, we did our best to keep everyone in the program safe and still chose to see his humanity. The acceptance he found in our group helped him to open up and find the courage to change. Stories like this have the power to remind us of our own capacity to love and connect. We are living in one of the loneliest and most divided times in the history of this country, which is why these stories are so important. Research from the American Psychological Association and U.S. Surgeon General shows that we are more isolated and polarized than ever. Where in your own life do you feel the most alone? The most divided from the people around you? No one wants to live with so much fear and disconnection. But it can feel like there's no other option. However, if we want a different world, we have to do something different. We have to be brave enough to build a bridge instead of a wall. Building that bridge starts with forgiveness. But if we want to offer forgiveness and understanding to others, we first have to be able to give it to ourselves. What would it be like to forgive yourself for your biggest mistakes? It can be hard to find self-forgiveness alone. Our culture often teaches us to handle our problems in isolation. But for me, the first step to forgiving myself was realizing I couldn't do it alone. For years, I was at war with myself. As a kid, I struggled deeply with substance abuse and anger. I hurt people I loved, and I hated myself for it. One night, when I was about 18, I hit rock bottom. I was with a girl I was seeing, and we had done a lot of drugs together. The room started to spin. The anxiety was crushing. When I said I was having a panic attack, she told me I was ruining her experience. I panicked and said I needed to leave. She took my keys so I wouldn't drive. It was midnight and cold outside. I was so disoriented that I forgot my shoes and jacket. I wandered the dark streets alone until eventually I found my way back to my unlocked car. It was better than being outside, but it was still freezing. I huddled there shivering in a thin t-shirt, slowly losing the battle with my inner demons. I tried calling people I thought were my friends, but they all brushed me off. It hit me how alone I was and how far I'd pushed everyone away. I realized I wasn't going to make it through this on my own. In a moment of pure desperation, I made the hardest call of my life. I called my parents. It wasn't easy. We'd fought over my drug use since I was 13. When they answered the phone, I was so out of it that I couldn't give a coherent address. But they searched until they found me. Seeing my mom knock on my car window was pure relief. I was safe. On the ride home, I kept repeating, I lost all the love. Where did it go? I lost it. And my dad just kept saying, it never left, Matthew. It never left. It took me a long time to recover. And yet, by showing up for me when I was at my worst, my parents helped me find the courage to look at myself with honesty and choose forgiveness. Only then was I fully able to show up for others. If we can't offer kindness to the darkest parts of ourselves, how can we offer it to the world? Staying in connection with someone we disagree with gives them an opportunity to change and find self-forgiveness. My great-uncle Charles showed me exactly what that looks like. Last fall, my girlfriend and I were visiting my family in Mississippi. Uncle Charles wanted to take us to the Civil Rights Museum where he volunteers. Surrounded by the heavy, painful imagery of the Jim Crow era, Charles turned to us and said something I never expected. I used to be racist. He went on to explain that for years he had just blindly accepted how things were and kept silent. But slowly, cracks formed in his worldview. The turning point came during a conversation with his best friend, Anne. One day, the issue of segregation in churches came up, and he asked for her opinion. Anne looked him straight in the eye and said, "It's terrible. You can't keep people away from God." Hearing that, Charles finally realized the true harm his silence had supported. Afterwards, his shame for that silence left him paralyzed. But Anne didn't walk away. Her willingness to believe in him helped him to open his heart and ultimately led him to become a civil rights activist. Although she passed away a few years ago, to Charles, Anne is still his best friend and the love of his life. When I asked Uncle Charles if I could share this, he said he would be honored. I am truly humbled by his courage to let his past be shared with the world. This story reminds me of what becomes possible when we choose to see each other's humanity, and what we lose when we cut people out. Who in your life right now needs someone to see their humanity? What if that person was you? Taking the risk to connect asks us for courage, and I've seen firsthand it's one of the most important things we can do. And yet, there are still nights I lie awake thinking about all of the hate in our society. And I wonder if anything I do really matters. Then I think about the power that just one act of connection can have. Keeping that man in our treatment program didn't heal the world, but it gave him a chance to become a better person. My parents showing up for me when I was shivering in that freezing car helped me to forgive myself and move forward. Uncle Charles opened his heart to others because Anne believed in him. Our lives all change because someone chose to see our humanity when we couldn't. Those acts of connection helped us find the courage to change and offer that same grace to others. Connection might seem small against all of the hate that we see around us, but even when change feels impossible, choosing to connect makes our lives more joyful, more alive, and less alone. So here's my challenge. Reach out to someone you don't see eye to eye with. A stranger, a friend, or family member. Ask about their life. Ask what they love. You don't have to agree. Just start the conversation. Not because it will fix everything, but because it might change something, and that's enough. We don't build bridges because they are guaranteed to change the world. We build them because we need each other. Thank you.